So the 1940 census was released in 2012. Again, censuses are released every 72 years. So we just had the 1950 census released this year. The 1940 census is data rich. It contains the age, relationship, marital status, employment status, income, and education for every individual enumerated. And there are supplemental questions that include limited information on birthplace of parents, veteran status, marital status of women, or were they previously married, their age, number of children born for up to 2 individuals per census page. And the 1940 census will have the information for many of our recent ancestors, grandparents, parents, or even some of us. So when we look at the 1940 census, you get a lot of information. Of course, in the title section, you get the town, the township, state, and county, the ward, the block, if it's an unincorporated place, if it's an institution, such as a school, a prison, a hospital. You get the supervisor's district, the enumeration district, the enumerator's name, the date enumerated, and the sheet number. And you might want to look at the enumerator's name because it might be somebody from the local area and you might recognize those names. And as you go down the census, you can find family members. So this is my great-grandfather, Ray Westerheide, his wife, Laura, their daughter, Lucille, son, Leroy, and the other daughter, Mary Jean. We can find their address, 104 Frankfurt Street. We get more information in these data categories. So if you notice here, Ray Westerheide says 0, Laura's 1, Lucille is 2, Leroy's 2, Mary Jean is 2. That indicates head of household, the wife, the child, parents, grandparents, other relatives, and so on. And you can see there's a variety of different other things, such as servants, servant's wife, son or daughter, other people in a hotel or institution, head of hotel, and hired hand. Some of those indicators might not be directly listed on the page other than in these data points. You can also get the sex, the race, the age, and marital status of each individual on these census pages, and then whether they attend school and the highest grade completed. So you see my great-grandparents finished 8th grade, and then their children are in 10th grade, 6th grade, and 2nd grade. And then you have the data points after that, where it lists the code for each grade that they may have been in. And then you have the birth location. So in this case here, they were all born in Ohio. You get the residence in 1935. In this case, it's the same house, but it may say same place, rural, or a name of another location, a county or state where they lived. So if it says same house, you know it was at the same address in 1935. And if it says same place, you know they lived in the same town in 1935. And then you also get the citizenship. So in this case, they all say AM, which is American, but they could say naturalized, NA, PA for first papers, or AL for alien. And then there's the birth state in column C, and those codes there should be the same as the previous location. And you can go to Steve Morris and look at the codes there and make sure that they all match up. And there's another one for migration information. So that column D that's in there provides the residence information for the 1935 residents, but it gives more detail. So instead of just saying it's the same house or same place, it may say it's the same county and it's non-farm or residents unknown, or give you some idea of the county's population that might give you some more information. And then what do we know about where they lived? Well, this can tell us if they rent or own the house. It can tell us the value of the rent or the ownership of the house. Did they live on a farm? Yes or no? And did they live on a farm in 1935? And it also gives you a farm schedule in the last column. And the employment data tells us if a person worked for pay in private non-emergency government work during the last week in March, or if not, it was the person at work or assigned to public emergency work like WPA, NYA, or CCC. If the person was seeking work, or if they were not seeking work, did they have a job or business, and whether they were engaged in housework, in school, unable to work, or other. So the other includes retired persons or persons who choose not to work. So you can see in this case here, Laura Westerheide is listed as H, so she's doing housework, and Lucille is listed as S, so she's in school. Again, this is only for individuals 14 years of age and older. So if they were under 14, you're going to see that that code is not filled out, or in this case, in this census, you can see that they all say no, but they're all marked out, indicating that they're less than 14 years. And then there's another column, column E, which gives us some statistical data about their work status. And then it also gives us the number of hours worked. So you can see in this case, it's 50 for Ray Westerheide. If they're unemployed or working emergency work, the number of weeks employed, the number of weeks worked during 1939, and the amount in salary and wages, if they made salaries and wages, and did the person earn more than $350 other than wages. So you can see, again, Ray Westerheide worked 50 hours, and you can see other people in this section were 40, 45, or 50 hours. Now, one thing you'll notice here is that he worked 50 hours, but that second box says no, indicating that he didn't have salary. So why didn't he have salary? Well, looking at the type of work he did, you can see here he was a dry cleaner, and then it says OA, and this is the class of worker. So if it says PW, it's private work, GW is government work, E is an employer, OA is own account, and NP is unpaid family worker. So here he is OA, meaning that he worked on his own account. He ran the dry cleaning business. So therefore he didn't make a salary. He just earned money as an owner of the business. And then there are occupation codes here. And so this one says 496, 88, and 4. This indicates, if you go to the Steve Morris occupation codes listing, 496 is operative worker, 88 is laundering, cleaning, and dyeing services, and 4 is working on their own account. So that should match up somewhat with the occupations previously listed in the columns previous to this. And then you also get who answered the questions when the enumerator asked. And so you see these little, in the 1940 census, these little circles with X's in them, that indicates who answered the questions. So in these cases here, the wives answered the questions, probably because the husbands were at work and the children may have been at school, or, it's not reasonable to ask these questions to the children. And if you're in lines 14 and 29, there's supplemental information that may be provided. So if we're going down to the supplemental information, you can see at the bottom of the page here. Also, on lines 39 and 40, if the family continues on to the next census page, you'll see a little box that's marked there indicating that the family's on the next page also. And then down here in the supplemental information, you see the names, the birthplaces of the parents, the language that the children spoke or the household spoke, and then a variety of different other bits of information here, including veteran status. The interesting thing here is if the person was a veteran, or the wife, widow, or child of a veteran, children under the age of 18, they would be indicated in these columns. If it's a child of the veteran, it would also indicate if the father is deceased. It will also indicate which war or military service. So World War I, Spanish-American War, Philippines, Boxer Rebellion, the Spanish-American War and World War I, peacetime service, or other. The next set of columns indicates Social Security. So if they had Social Security, that means they had a Social Security number, and you'll be able to look up their Social Security records, Social Security Death Index, or applications, which you can find those on Family Search, and the application records you can find on Ancestry. Were deductions for old age retirement or railroad retirement made? So if they had railroad retirement, they wouldn't have Social Security. And also the percent of deductions made. So was it all wages, 1/2 or more of the wages, or less than half of the wages? And the usual occupation and industry would be indicated here also, along with the woman's marital status. So again, married more than once, age at first marriage, or the number of children born, which does not count stillborn children. And then you get the veteran status. So this will give you that information. The code numbers 1 through 7 indicates the veteran, child, or wife, and then what military branch they served in and which war event that they served in. And then the last set of columns gives us more information on owning or renting the house, the value, of the rent or the ownership and so on, along with the farm. So were they farmer, lived on a farm or not on a farm, male or female, and then the color and nativity. So were they white, not white? Were they foreign born? And then you have age data, along with marital status, and then the highest grade completed, and then the citizenship records there. So a lot of detail in these columns, getting down to the number of hours they worked, as well as number of weeks they worked, breaking it into salary and supplemental incomes,